Hi, welcome to the FilmCrop channel. Today I'm going to explain about the 2010 drama thriller called Buried. Please support me with a like and a comment. That way you can help the channel grow. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. It's pitch black. All I can hear is my own breathing, but my mouth is tied up with something. Paul struggles to find a kind of lighter, and lights it. He finds himself lying in a wooden coffin. His hands, feet, and mouth are bound. Paul puts the lighter nearby and tries to free himself. Fortunately, there's a nail sticking out of the coffin. One less problem, but now what? Where is he? He can't breathe, the coffin is very cramped, and panic is tight in his chest. Paul extinguishes the lighter. Perhaps this is just a bad dream, and now he is going to wake up. But out of nowhere a ringing sound comes. It's a phone lying nearby. Paul doesn't have time to answer it. It doesn't matter, though. The important thing is that he now has a telephone, which means he can get out of this hell. The phone is in Arabic. With difficulty remembering the number, he dials 911. Paul asks for help, but he finds it hard to talk. There is no air at all, making his thoughts turn into a viscous mush. Our hero tells the dispatcher about his job. Paul is an ordinary American chauffeur in Iraq. Terrorists attacked their convoy, and now he's in a coffin. The other drivers working with him have been killed. But there's nothing they can do to help him. It's a relief service in Ohio, but no way in Iraq. Paul is dropping. He's got to get through to his family. No one answers, there's an answering machine everywhere. His oxygen is running out more and more by the second. And the battery on his phone is not endless. He has to call the FBI. He manages to get the FBI on the phone. He writes out the number on the casket so he won't forget. Paul tells the whole backstory. But the agent expresses no sympathy. Instead of any support, he begins to question him about his social security number. Suddenly the connection is cut off. With difficulty, he catches the connection in one corner of the coffin and tries to call the same FBI office. Other people answer him. All of them don't care that the kidnapped man is dying in a coffin. Paul has a nervous breakdown. After barely calming down, he picks up the phone. The idea comes to him to find the first call he hasn't had time to answer. A terrorist picks up the phone. Our hero tries to explain to him that he has nothing to do with killing people. But he doesn't want to hear it. I don't care who Paul is, a soldier, a driver, or even a cook. If he is an American, he is a soldier and a murderer. That is their ideology. Now our hero has to pay $5 million to the terrorists before 9 p.m. But where does he get that kind of money? The terrorist doesn't want to hear it. Paul tries to reach Donna, a friend of his wife Linda. With difficulty, she picks up the phone. Even though our hero has already told her it's a matter of life and death. Going to the store is more important to her. Paul asks her to look up the number of the US State Department on the internet. But Donna doesn't like his tone. I wonder how else a man buried in a coffin by terrorists is supposed to talk? Donna hangs up the phone. A little later, Paul calls, apologizes, and asks her to find the number again. With disdain, she tells him the number. Finally, the US State Department also surprises. They are aware of his situation and do nothing to save him. The State Department refuses to pay the terrorists $5 million. That's their policy. It's easy to talk sitting under air conditioning while Paul lies in a coffin, a hair's breadth away from death. But the girl on the line does help him a little. She dictates the number of Dan Brenner, the head of the Iranian hostage-taking unit. Dan reassures him. They're already working hard to save him. Dan asks him to conserve the battery on his phone and look for marks in his coffin. Their call is interrupted by a terrorist. He tries to call Paul again. Our hero picks up the phone and tries in vain to explain his innocence. But the terrorist is too resentful of all Americans. The man asks him to make a video and he will be released. A note with the text lies at Paul's feet. He asks for $1 million and hangs up. In the bag at his feet turn out to be glow sticks, a flashlight and a note with the text. It's a shame it's only found now. Otherwise he wouldn't have burned so much oxygen with the lighter. Paul calls Dan and realizes that he doesn't care about what happened to him either. Still, Dan tries to reassure our hero. Paul asks him to tell him about his experience of saving people so he can feel that Dan cares. The man talks about medic Mark White, who was successfully rescued. Dan asks him to take it easy to save oxygen, but it's a big problem. Paul is having panic attacks. He needs to take his pills and calm down. But his attempts are immediately interrupted by a terrorist. He calls our hero and yells for him to hurry up and take the video they are asking for. After taking the pills, Paul decides to call his mother. She is lying in a nursing home and doesn't remember him at all. It seems his mother has Alzheimer's. After the conversation, he receives a message with a picture of his colleague. She is tied up and seems to be a prisoner as well. The terrorist says he'll kill her if Paul doesn't shoot the video right now. Without slowing down, he films what the terrorist asks for and sends it off. After calming down a bit, he falls asleep. Emerging from his oblivious sleep, he realizes he is still lying in a coffin. Anxiety grips his body again. Upon awakening, a new gift from fate awaits him. A poisonous snake is crawling in his coffin. Having managed to drive it away with gasoline and a lighter, he picks up the telephone. In the coffin, meanwhile, more and more sand appears. Paul changes the language on his phone and finds the number of the phone he found. The battery charge is approaching 0. The glow stick turns out to be glued to the bottom and falls apart. A flashlight remains. Paul gets a message. It's his colleague. She gets shot right on camera. What he sees throws Paul out of his mind. His efforts have gone to waste. Paul calls Dan, who with each call raises more and more doubts. Where are they looking for him? How, if they couldn't even get Paul's number? But Dan reassures him and tells him that Paul is almost found. Their conversation is interrupted. The sounds of explosions and dropped bombs can be heard even underground. Suddenly, the coffin breaks and sand starts pouring into it at an insane rate. Each grain of sand takes precious seconds off Paul's life. Our hero tries to contain the crevice in the coffin. He gets a call from Alan Davenport, the manager of the company. Like Dan, he expresses nothing but fake sympathy. All that matters to him is that Paul not call the press and publicize what happened. Then Alan turns on the tape recorder. He starts questioning him, asking him to confirm that they were supposedly warned about the danger. And because they had been informed of the affair between the murdered colleague and him, he was fired from the company. In this way, they were absolved of responsibility for what had happened. Not only that, but now his family won't get a penny of the insurance money. So what happens now? The sand no longer falls into the coffin. He managed to get the hole fixed. But will he be saved? Is anyone really looking for him at all? The floor falls asleep. Waking up in the sand with a flashlight that doesn't work, he tries to call someone. But in vain. No one picks up the phone. The hole he's plugged bursts. And Paul can't fix it anymore. He's covered in sand from head to toe. He laughs and calls Dan. The man says his captors have been killed. But Paul already knows everything. After all, it was the explosions that made his coffin break. Dan says it's over. Paul gets off the phone and records a video testament for his wife and son. His coffin is still covered in sand. Paul is doomed. He's about to die and no one can help him anymore. Our hero turns off the lights and closes his eyes. But he gets a call from a terrorist. He asks to see the blood and to send the video. The terrorist knows where his family lives. Paul calls his wife, but it's answering machine again. He asks her not to come home. Meanwhile, his coffin is already half filled. Paul decides to make a video and cuts off his finger. To stop the blood, he takes the rag he used to cover the crack in the coffin. More sand falls off. Paul is lying down and looking at the crumbling sand. The phone is ringing. For a moment, he imagines he is being saved. But it is only a mirage. In reality, he has very little left. He answers the phone and is told that he has been found. One of the terrorists has agreed to reveal the location of the buried American. He gets a call from Linda, his wife. He reassures Linda that he is about to be found and everything will be all right. He'll be sure to call her when it's over. They both cry. The call is interrupted. They've already found him and are about to dig him up. Meanwhile, Paul's coffin is filled to the brim. But our hero can't hear them. There's not much more to go. There is no room left in the coffin to breathe. There is silence in the tube. They have unearthed a man. It turned out to be the corpse of Mark White, whom they had supposedly saved. It was all one big lie. The sand fills the coffin completely. Paul Conroy dies.